So let's look at the overall Takaful as an industry globally. So one thing we would see is Islamic finance as an industry in general. So one thing we also need to remember is Islamic finance is not Islamic banking. So we tend to talk of Islamic banking as if it's synonymous to Islamic finance. So Islamic finance, just like conventional finance, is the entire ecosystem. So within which you have banks, you have the banking industry, you have capital markets, you have the social finance, so things such as zakat and waqf, then you have takaful and the likes. So as an industry overall, by last year report, which indicated the growth of Islamic finance assets between 2014 and 2020, we see the growth of Islamic finance. If you look at 2014, we are looking at $1.9 trillion worth of assets. And then you see the growth by 2020, almost doubled by increasing to 3.3. Actually, last year was $3.6 trillion. And that is expected to reach almost $5 trillion by 2055. But Takaful, as a subset of Islamic finance, is still small, which accounts for only 2% of the total industry, but is expected, of course, to grow and reach almost $91 billion, which, of course, grows at 16%, and it's a double-digit growth. When what you will see is Takaful is one of the fastest growing subsectors of Islamic finance of all other subsectors in the world, meaning there's a huge potential for growth. If you're to invest now, you will be in a position to enjoy the upside that we expect to see in the next few years. So globally, we are looking at almost 323 institutions which have been registered as Takaful operators. And if you look at the countries such as Iran, Pakistan, and Malaysia are still the leading markets in terms of growth of Takaful as an industry globally. And of course, we're looking at $62 billion as worth of the total assets under Takaful. And you see, of course, geographically, the big part of Takaful assets are still within the GCC countries, in other parts of Middle East and North Africa. And then, of course, Southeast Asia, we know countries such as Indonesia, which has the largest Muslim population in the world. We know the development in such markets from Indonesia, Malaysia, and others. And then, of course, Europe, we know the growth of one, Muslim population in many European countries, but secondly, maturity of this ecosystem. So it's easy to go and invest in such markets. And of course, other parts of the world. So overall, I don't have to repeat this, but if you look at the insurance market in Tanzania in general, if you're looking at the TIRA report of fourth quarter last year, and of course the report towards December last year, this is what you see. I think Doctor will correct me if I've missed any of the important information, but I think the report indicates around 33 insurance companies. And then, of course, we're looking at gross premiums of 200 billion shillings plus, which is the gross income that insurance companies are earning. And the market, of course, between the reported period grew by 12%, which is a good thing. You know, growing faster than the finance industry in general, and growing faster than the economy, which is a good thing for anyone who wants to enter into that industry. Total assets, we're looking at more than 1 trillion, which, of course, if you were to compare, if I got the data right correctly from the report, it tells you that insurance in general, not just Takaful, is still a small subset of the total finance industry in Tanzania. If you look at banks have assets of more than 20 trillion. If you look at the capital market, the stock market in Tanzania the total market capitalization is in excess of 15 trillion Tanzanian shillings. So if you were to put insurance as one of the subsets of finance industry in Tanzania, I would see it's still very minimal. And if you're looking, I think the total premiums from insurance, I think they're less than 3% of the GDP. So we still have a lot of work to do. But at the same time, for me, usually when I see these numbers, I think we still have huge potential for growth, because you grow from the bottom, meaning you can generate more returns in the future. And general insurance is still the predominant part of the general insurance industry in Tanzania. So where do we see the opportunities, and what drives these opportunities? So one of the things that usually drives opportunities for insurance industry in any country in the world is population. So as the population grows, comes with so many things. It comes with one, the need to insure more people. More people can have, if diseases are not well managed, you have more people that need to be covered to access healthcare services. You have more people, especially in our markets where people are moving from rural to urban areas, and people want to build homes, people want to buy cars as they adopt to the metropolitan culture. That, of course, continues to generate more opportunities for insurance. If you look at the incomes as well, when incomes grow, people can afford to cover for insurance. First of all, they buy assets, meaning they require insurance, but at the same time, they can also afford to buy other types of insurance, which in traditional sense, if the incomes are low, insurance won't be on the list of the necessities of a poor earning family. And if you look at the 1030 agenda of agriculture, where the Ministry of Agriculture plans for the agricultural sector to grow by 10% by 2030, from hardly 5% now, that will lift many people out of poverty if it works as planned, and you have more people even in rural areas that will probably need to be covered. If the LNG project takes off, which is a $30 billion project in Tanzania, the moment it starts to commercialize and export gas, Tanzania will experience 2 to 3% additional growth of GDP, meaning lives will change, people buy more properties, people have more disposable income, and of course, insurance could be one of the products that they can look into. Looking at the Continental Africa Free Trade Area, there'll be more business. By the time when the Continental Free Trade Area will be liberalized by 100%, tariffs will be removed by 90 to 95%, meaning people will trade freely. When you talk of trade, you talk of insurance. When you talk of trade, you talk of logistics, you talk of trucks, you talk of insurance. So all opportunities will be unfolding as you go further. Technology is already driving the growth of insurance, especially in the environments as we see, such as ours, where the penetration of insurance is very low. And you cannot grow insurance penetration in our markets today by using the brick and mortar approaches. So we can deploy technology. I know telcos now sell insurance through their mobile platforms. So we need more innovation in this space, so people can easily buy, sell, can compare, and of course can also integrate with mobile network operators to offer their insurance services in a grow penetration. Penetration is still very low. From FinScope survey by FSDT 2017 was around 15%, but I think it's lower. Doctor, correct me. And of course, this increased demand for more health insurance, given the growth of, I think we have seen the news lately, non-communicable diseases, which I think take about almost 40% of the entire NHIF bill. And as we continue to live and comply to what we call city life, people continue to be exposed to all sorts of NCDs, and that of course will require people to have more and more health insurance. But at the same time, now the government, I think Dr. mentioned in his opening remarks, the government now is moving to discuss and pass a bill into an act in the parliament for universal health insurance, where each one of us will now need to have health insurance. That of course opens the market, and of course opportunities will be limitless. And if you look at Takaful in particular, so the two things that we need to understand when it comes to Takaful. So Takaful, just like the way it is with Islamic banks or Islamic capital markets, is for anyone. It's universal financial services. But Muslim consumers become as immediate consumers for Takaful just before you go to the general market. So one thing that we need to understand is how big is this Muslim community as my first-hand consumers. That of course will require my services before I go out and now call in anyone, regardless of their background. So for me, I would say, okay, let's look at the potential customer base. how many people, if insurance today, health insurance, for instance, will be universal, meaning each one of us will have to be insured, how many people are we looking at? So unfortunately, the current data from all sources that we have from government sources, we don't have exact number of the Muslim population vis-a-vis total population in the country. But if you look at the 1967 census, where that was the last time when religion was part of the items covered in the census, it put Muslim population at 6%. So I don't expect to have very low numbers because Muslims tend to, some Muslims tend to have more than one wife. So they have an opportunity to have more kids. So they have an opportunity potentially to have more members of the population. So for me, this is my very high level analysis in terms of what are the numbers. So even if numbers will be, if mortality rate will be higher than the population growth of within the Muslim population, I don't think that will go below 40%. So we have a huge pool of potential customers that we can sell these products and services to. But secondly, if you look at the Muslim business community is huge and is growing. If you look at transporters, majority are Muslims. If they want to really use Islamic insurance services, they can be low-hanging fruits because some of the major, if you look at the 10 largest transporters in Tanzania, they have 500 plus trucks. And for me, I think that's a huge opportunity. One, for the trucks, but secondly, for the for drivers, they need to be covered as well. So that, of course, gives you massive opportunities. But if you look at the agriculture as well, as I said earlier, the 1030 agenda, if it will really transform agricultural sector in Tanzania, let's look at the areas where they are highly Muslim populated. So the areas such as Lindi, Mtwara, Tanga, Pwani, and Kigoma, all these areas where we have majority, say Muslim farmers plus or minus, they will of course need things such as crop insurance, which is one of the agenda moving forward to reduce the risk associated with climate changes in agriculture. All these people need insurance. So if they will also, again, want to consume insurance services which are compliant to their faith, to me, I think is the low-hanging fruit. Again, of course, we have a number of Muslim schools that, of course, need to be insured. They have buildings need to be insured against fire and other types of insurances. Some schools have vehicles, like school buses. They also need to be insured as well. So that, of course, generates another opportunity. If you look at the micro Takaful as well, especially for the bottom of the pyramid, for me, I think opportunities there are massive. Today, we have micro, small, medium enterprises in excess of 3 million. These guys need insurance as no other. Because one of the factors and one of the reasons why small businesses fail is because they are very vulnerable. If someone falls sick or one of their family members falls sick today, chances are the small business owner will use part of his or her proceeds from the business to pay for medical care. And if the medical care bill becomes huge, chances are they might use all their savings from the businesses to cover for their medical care at the family level. And of course, in return, that will affect the cash flow. And if the cash flow won't find any solution in the short term, that business probably will run out of cash. And the business which is out of cash is subject to fail. So these guys need to be covered. If they have health insurance, it's easier now. They can take care of their families when they have issues without touching the finances of their small businesses. But if you also look at the SACCOs, for me, I think huge opportunities. Generally, we're looking at the SACCOs industry with more than 2,500 SACCOs organizations across the country. Of course, these are just generic SACCOs. So how many of those could be halal SACCOs? That, of course, will need insurance services. Or again, members of these SACCOs. How many of the members of these SACCOs probably will need halal services such as insurance? You have members in SACCOs registered according to BOT, almost 500,000 across the country. And they have loans which are dished out almost 500 billion. All these need to be insured. And to me, I think it's a low-hanging fruit for Takaful in Tanzania. And as we go towards universal health insurance, again, we can build on that and make sure that we also take a ride on that. So what are the options that we can look at if you want to enter into Takaful business today? One is fine, if you have enough muscles. I think one of the discussions will be how much money do you need to start a Takaful company in Tanzania as an operator, as a broker, as an agent. But if you can, and you have resources, or you can raise some funds with your colleagues and people close to you, you can start your own insurance company, your Takaful company. Or if you have one, you can convert it into Takaful, which of course will give you an opportunity to do it as a fully fledged Takaful company. You can be an intermediary. You don't have to operate a Takaful company. You don't necessarily have to be a Takaful broker. You don't necessarily have to be a Takaful agent. You can also be an assessor. You can be an actuary and provide your professional services to the insurance players. But there's a lot of work is needed, especially around training and advisory. The knowledge, the skills and understanding of Takaful is still pretty much very low, not just with the business community, but even within the government institutions, within the insurance companies themselves. And for those who want to convert into Takaful, there's a lot of need for consultancies to build products. There's a lot of opportunity for short-term training to build skills and talent that will be needed from product design, product development, to marketing, finances, accounting, which are in compliance with Islamic finance, Sharia advisory, and so forth. And of course, these Takaful companies will need to recruit people who have these talents. So who will recruit them? So you can be an recruitment agency, starting your recruitment company, and your work will pretty much be about deploying, train, and place these people to all these other companies. One other thing which is important now is growing an insurance company today won't be the same as growing an insurance company 20 years ago. Things will be different. If you have strategies to grow insurance the same that you did 20 years ago, I tell you, you will never move a needle. The insurance game now, just like overall finance industry, the way it is today globally, is driven by technology. So whether the use of artificial intelligence, whether it's the use of machine learning, all these type of things will help to grow the Takaful industry by deploying technology heavily. You can have technology applications just to provide a marketplace where someone can log in, can see 2-3 different operators, can compare their offers, can compare their ratings, and then can select which one they want to join in. The same thing, you can just log on into your app, you can submit your claim, and your claims can be processed from remote without you visiting any of the insurance companies, Takaful companies' offices. You can process and provide payment gateways. You can build and sell software for all these new players who are coming to the market. But you can also manage assets of these Takaful operators. So you start a Takaful company, whether it's Mudaraba, whether it's Wakal, whatever model that you want to use, there will be some investable assets that need to be invested in Sharia compliant investment opportunities. So we'll do that. So there's an opportunity as an asset manager, you can look into that and see how can you support Takaful operators to invest their cash reserves. And of course, lastly, as an investor, you don't probably have to open your Takaful company and operate full-time. You don't probably want to be an intermediary. You don't probably want to be a trainer or an advisor. You probably don't want to invest in technology. You probably don't want to be an asset manager. You can play as an investor. You can invest in one of all these activities and stay aside and earn your passive income. I just want to focus on this before I maybe finalize one or two final slides. I really want to insist on technology. I think the role of technology is massive and can help us to quickly grow Takaful. So if you look at Malaysian insurtech sectors as well, you see the development of different aspects of technology across the entire insurance industry. So carriers can have their own technologies in-house. You can have P2P, where you join two parties who want to join the industry. You can have comparison shopping, where you can go log into the system and compare which Takaful company or which insurance company you want to buy into, you want to join as a member. You can also use platforms and infrastructure to start your company and sell, either as an agent, as a broker, or as an operator of Takaful. Of course, we have all these other types of technology developments that we see, whether it's claims management, whether it's predictive analytics, where as a technology can predict what sort of claims you expect to see in the next 12 months or 24 months, so you can prepare yourself as a company. So of course, this comes with so many opportunities, but at the same time, it also comes. So as you move towards capitalizing on this opportunity of Takaful, don't forget that there are also some challenges that you need to have in mind that you need to address. There'll be a huge skills shortage. Having enough people who are Takaful educated to work for you. Low level of awareness, like the way we see in Islamic banking. So this won't just be like you're walking in the pack. Then the moment you have a Takaful company, you say, okay, as a Muslim, you're supposed to use Takaful services, and then people will be flocking into your offices. It doesn't work like that. You need to build a lot of awareness. We need to do a lot of education for people to understand what Takaful is and why should they use Takaful services. We still have limited Sharia advisors who have specialized in Takaful. Of course, you may have some challenges with raising initial capital. Topic for another day. How can you raise capital if you have to start a Takaful company? Of course, you still have limited investment opportunities. As a Takaful operator, if you want to invest your investable assets in Sharia compliant investment opportunities, the market is very limited. The Islamic Stock Exchange only has 28 companies which are listed, and almost half of those are not Sharia compliant. We are yet to have one sukuk which is trading publicly. Of course, that will be changing soon, inshallah. So you have limited opportunities in terms of where you can deploy your funds. But the good thing is the government now allows for Tanzanians to invest across SADC region, so you can go as further down as Johannesburg Stock Exchange and see if there are any Sharia compliant opportunities. Of course, there will be competition from conventional insurance companies. It won't be easy for them to let go of their customers and for you to build on them. So what can you do next? For me, I think just like any other opportunity which is presented to you, you cannot use this presentation, you cannot use this discussion and say tomorrow I'm going to start my company. You still need to do your thorough research, understand the market very well. Secondly, pick option. Which option do you want to go to? Out of all these options which I mentioned here, which one do you think will align with you easily, will align with your skills, your capital capacity, your interest, your passion, and then of course from there you can move to the next stage where you can prepare your plan, whether you want to do internally, whether you want to use other people, whether it's abroad, to come up with your plan for you. You raise your capital, make sure that you go to TILA, get licensed, do your internal setup, you can do your official launch and start growing your company. So for me, there would be a very idealistic process for you to follow if you want to go there. So is Takaful an opportunity or a hype? So for me, I think it's an opportunity, yes, because I think if you're looking at the basics and the fundamentals, they give you a huge pool of opportunities that you can look at. But is it a hype? It depends, because since May, I think Doctor is in a position to respond to that. Since May, when the framework became operational, we are yet to see someone now open the shop. We know companies have registered Takaful companies, but we yet to see services unless I'm not aware of that. And this is very important. 2018, we had the first Islamic banking service here. Fast forward almost 15 years later, the total banking industry in Tanzania is less than, the total Islamic banking industry is less than 3% of the entire banking industry in Tanzania in terms of deposits and assets. So if you're not careful, we may go almost through the same route and we'll not be in a position to capitalize on the potential that Takaful has. So for me, I think let's make sure that we don't follow the same path and we make Takaful a reality and everyone gets an opportunity to do that. I'll end from here. These are my contacts, and thank you. I think, Brother Khalfan, I'll stop from here. If you are back in charge, I'd like to take this back to you. Asante sana.
Hello, do you hear me? Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, that's good. Thank you so much for very insightful presentations. And I don't want to take much time, but as promised, there are questions that has been posted on the chat, but also will allow others to ask directly. Dear participants, we have come to the first break, Q&A. We have had Commissioner of Insurance, we have had Brother Salum, and I know there are some questions. I will start reading from the chart, and then we'll pick those that are coming directly. The first one I see here is from Shukuru Mohammed. Thanks, Dr. Sakware and Brother Salum, for your insights. Kindly educate us more on the comparison between conventional and Islamic insurance. That's first. Then the second part is with regards to perception in the market that maybe Takaful will be expensive compared to the conventional one. So I don't know who would want to start, either Salum or Brother Dr. Sakware. I think on the differences we can I know you have shared something on it. I have a slide on it in the future, so I might share more on the differences. So we can leave that part, but give us your thought on whether it is going to be expensive or not expensive. We'll start with Dr. Sakware and then Salum.
Thank you very much for your questions. Of course, I wish also to extend my thanks to Brother Salum for very insightful presentations and the PowerPoints, which are very elaborative. And I've gained a lot of issues with regards to opportunities provided under Takaful market. Thank you very much, Brother Salum. In terms of the question, I am not sure. Perceptions can only be changed by education and, of course, by knowledge and persuasion of the clients. Anybody can say something is expensive, but expensive with regards to what? Because if you want something cheap, you can get it. But if you want something good, it comes with some cost. And my advice is that any investor normally puts what he wants to save. And you put your clients in various categories. It's like if you are to design a hotel, you can say there is a hotel of 50,000, there is a hotel of 100, there is a hotel of 2,000, 200,000, and you all get the customers depending on where you are interested to invest. And for me, therefore, I don't see any difference between taking a conventional insurance product and taking a Takaful insurance product because you are to determine the cost depending on the value. If you are sharing the profit and you are getting a better service, you are being approached in a better, and that is what you want, you have to pay. I don't know whether it's something which comes from a research or it comes from just a mere perception. And if it is a research, we are ready to hear the findings, but also see what is the basis of that research. If it is a mere perception, it is a duty now of all the stakeholders in the Takaful market to educate the public on what value you get from the Takaful product. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for your insight. Brother Salum, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, maybe one or two things. One is, first of all, I think the costing really depends on two things. One, you're looking at the cost from what perspective? You're looking at a cost as an operator. You're looking at a cost as a member of the Takaful system or as an insured person. Like probably you pay more premiums in Takaful vis-a-vis in traditional insurance industry. Maybe you pay less. which I think that's still subject to how the whole thing is structured. But secondly, I think there is an element of additional cost, if I may, in Takaful, because when I was trying to explain the major differences between Takaful and conversion insurance, one of the things I said was, with Takaful, you need to comply to two things. One, you need to comply to country laws and regulations, but you also need to comply with Sharia principles. Unlike in conversion insurance, you only need to comply to countries' laws and regulations. So if we have two layers of compliance, that of course has some cost implication. If you were to have one board of directors in insurance company, in Takaful as an operator, you have a board of directors, probably if as a members, and of course on top of that, you may also need to have a Sharia board or a Sharia advisor to make sure that everything which is run there complies with Sharia. So there might be some additional layers here and there, which might have some cost implication. But the good thing is it could be less costly in Takaful in terms of premiums, because at the end of the year, if you have access from the amount of money that you paid, you can still, of course, reuse that for the following year. Unlike in traditional insurance, where each year you have to pay out your premiums and they'll never come back.
Thank you so much. I would just like to engage a little bit further on this question, the Commissioner. I know there are some guidelines on the pricing on insurance products, like the caps, which are applying in the sector. And of course, it is expected that the player will, the Takaful player will be required as well to go or to observe that guideline on the pricing. But the rest is risk-based pricing. Isn't that the practice, Commissioner? Dr. Sakware, are you there? You can unmute, please.
Hello?
Yes, yes. Did you hear me?
Yes, I do. Please.
Yes, please continue.
So I think from my side, I can, if you allow me now some statistics, I can share with you some few statistics as far as the.
Okay, you want to share? I allow you to share?
No, just to mention.
All right, please go ahead.
Just to mention, just to say what other potentials you can see in terms of market statistics. We are going to release the insurance market performance for 3 years, which was not released from 2019 to 2021. And somewhere on 3rd October, if I also wish to invite all of you to be present, we will have a market performance report out. These market reports indicates that insurance penetration in Tanzania has increased by it has increased to 1.68 for the year 2021, and there is a growth of 10.6% for 2020-2021. And of course, there is increase in investment, particularly in life companies. And there is an increase in profit in the life companies, while there is a decrease in profit in general companies. Now, this tells us also another story that, of course, if you are to invest, life or family products are more important to the market. It appears that those are more profitable business avenue to undertake. So if there is any other question which I didn't hear, you can as well ask me. And I think that those are the things I wanted to
Okay.
share.
Thank you so much. We understand in the insurance market, there are some guidelines on pricing. And it's like a cap. You cannot maybe exceed this much. And also the rest is now up to the insurer to price the premiums according to the risks that are, and this is the best approach, but we know there are some market inefficiencies to practice that. So my sense on the question here is looking at the experience of Kenya, for example, we have Takaful insurance of Kenya, is it depends with the cover. There are covers which they are almost the same. There are some covers which the price is lower. There are some covers of which the premium could be slightly higher. So because of the risk-based pricing and other factors that are at play. So it's not correct, generally correct to the claims in the street, as Shakuru said, that something Islamic is becoming expensive. That is not true. We have seen even in the financing facility within the banking sector, pricing could be the same or could be lower or could be slightly higher, because it's all about the risks that are involved in that particular financing transaction. And in Takaful, again, is all about the risk underwritten in that from that particular client to the business or to the Takaful business. So we might need to wait and see in Tanzania how the player would price, but given the competition in the market, and we know the competition tends to force some price movements, we likely expect that the prices will be within the market, and if there could be some changes here and there, will be exception to certain maybe covers, and this is the norm even in the conventional insurers. They vary in terms of quotation. If you get a quote for a fire for a bank premise, you will find different quotation from different insurers because of their own assessments of the risks and so on. So I'll end it there. There are questions still to be answered here. One of them is with regards to the capital, and perhaps I would let this to be answered by the commissioner. Can you please tell us what is the paid up capital needed to start a Takaful company in Tanzania?
Thank you very much. Capital requirement is around Tanzanian shillings 2 billion to 3 billion Tanzanian shillings.
2 to 3 billion. That is equivalent to $1 million to
Yes.
1.2 million US dollars. So if it's to
So
put it
that
in
will
dollars,
include all other issues, 2 to 3.
Yeah, of course, that excludes certain fees that are normally paid for application and others. I will share with you in my slide what TIRA had already published in their website as the licensing requirement on that. But thank you so much for that very brief answer to that particular question. There is a hand from Abdul Baruch. You can unmute and ask, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. I would like to extend my sincere grateful to the organizers of this forum, especially Abral and SSC Market, for organizing this forum. My question is that considering the good explanation that we had from the presenters, it seems that Takaful insurance will be of more advantages both to the insurer and the insurees. So my question is, how much have we prepared to compete with the existing insurance companies, which are in the market for the quite number of years? Is the promotional and awareness session well conducted to the Islamic community so that they can be able to understand the advantage and the offers that the Takaful insurance will give them, and we make them be able to accept using it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We'll take it to Salum. Salum, please, you have a few short comments to that.
Yeah, so for me, I think first of all, I share your concerns in terms of competition. It's not just about Takaful. If you are a new player in any market, the incumbents will always try to protect themselves, and they won't be ready to let you eat their cake. So that is one thing that we should expect. Secondly, I think for me, usually in such situations, as a new player in the market, we need to look at the low-hanging fruit. And for me, the low-hanging fruit is the Muslim community, because they are required by Sharia in a situation where we already have Takaful. Using conventional insurance is not the rule anymore. And for that matter, we need to be part and parcel of the whole Takaful ecosystem. Having said that, I think the thing that we need to do now is to continue to invest pretty much in education and awareness. And I think aggressive, for those who will be operating, aggressive sales campaign and reach out to all these people and show, of course, the benefits. And one of the most important things which I've also seen, especially why our Islamic banks have not been able to take off to date into a large scale, is because you would expect, because it's Takaful, then Muslims will just come, build and they'll come. And it doesn't work like that. So we need to operate professionally. We need to offer the value that people need to see. And at the end of the day, of course, I think that will help so all players, from Abral to Tira to Sifka, anyone in the ecosystem, to make sure that we do as much in terms of education and awareness for the public.
Well, thank you so much with that. There are strategies to tackle competition in any markets. And we as business advisors, we will be glad to share these strategies on how you outbeat the competition as currently is. Salma has already said one is the value proposition. There are low-hanging fruit market. There is a market already not using these existing covers completely just because of the faith-based reasons. But leaving that aside, it is all about your cost issues, your cost differentiation, as well as your product differentiation strategies that will need to be looked at thoroughly. Okay, what kind of products are you bringing on the market, their features, their benefits, as well as managing your own costs of operating and offering these particular services. So the nitty-gritties, that will be, might be a discussion of another day on strategies to tackle competition in Takaful, in the insurance sector, but those strategies are always needed, even in any other business, even in the furniture business. You have many competitors. So expectation in the market is you will have competitors. Is about now the management team, competent management team, with some support maybe of external advisors that they might need to have to advise them on how to tackle the competition in a particular sector. That being said, we'll take another hand, and then I will have to do my final presentation, and then we'll open another Q&A session. So Juma Mbaga, you will be the last to ask for this particular moment before I proceed with the last presentation, and then we'll open again the Q&A. Juma.
Yeah. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum.
Morning.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it is a relevant question, but I just want to know if there is any significant uncertainties that Takaful business are facing or will face in the later days to implement and apply IFRS 17 to the Takaful business, as we all know that this is the new international financial reporting standards, and effectively will be in 1st January, 2023. So I just wanted to know if it will require or face any uncertainties.
Okay, we'll give it to Dr. Sakwara if you want to say something on that.
Thank you very much. All insurance companies registered by the authority are required to adhere to the IFRS 17 requirement as per guidelines issued on May 2022 by the authority. Of course, in the guidelines, we have provided that there will be 5 phases to that effect. The first phase is to do the gap analysis of what companies and where are they in terms of establishment of or adhering to the standards. The second to fifth part relates to investment and implementation of various requirements as far as IFRS 17 is concerned. We are of opinion that we will not force anybody to go as fast as possible. Of course, every one of you understands Tanzania is a signatory of the protocol of which requires that accounting standard, international accounting standard, are to be adhered by companies, including insurance. And therefore, we are encouraging insurance companies to adhere to those requirements. But we have a steering committee chaired by our Association of Tanzania Insurers and auditors, and the chair is Dr. Neema Msusa, where they discuss on how best we could implement, because we understand there is a cost-related technology requirement. So we'll go by the pace of our firms. And as you well know, this is like a COVID. You might not want, but it is a necessary evil to follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Alfan, can you unmute?
Okay, so thank you so much for those questions that have been raised and for the answers shared. We'll have to continue from here with the last presentation on my side, and then we'll come back to Q&A. So if you can bear with me, I'll try to be very brief on my presentation so that we can have some few minutes, maybe 10 minutes to wind up and take some remaining questions that are on the chart and maybe that you might have. Now on my side, as you might know, we as a broader consult based in Nairobi and also based in Tanzania, and areas that we are focusing on in promotion of Islamic finance, training and consultancy, and also provide Sharia advisory. As you might have heard, Brother Salum shared that there is an opportunity on Sharia advisory event, Sharia advice and so on. And we are living an example on that. We have taken a step to be a player because we know the market requires this kind of services. So this is one of the things that we do. Leave that aside, coming to the topic that I have a glimpse on Takaful. Briefly, this part was shared by Brother Salum on the differences. But there is a question I had asked also on this and promised that I will share some few thoughts. Briefly, we'll say that these two companies, these two insurance practices differ on a range of areas. And one of the bigger area from the Sharia perspective is the contract underlying the relationship between insurer and the insured. Now, the conventional insurance is based on a sale contract. Now, a sale contract from Sharia perspective has a requirement. And one of the requirements is the subject matter must be clear, it must be certain, it must be deliverable. Okay, now once you have these requirements, now you test these requirements with the existing covers, conventional covers. Are the conventional covers, is the subject matter certain? And the answer is it's not certain. Okay, you put your money in subject to occurrence of a defined event that you have agreed. It's not certain. So certainty becomes a requirement, and on the conventional insurer that is violated. So that was just to give one example. So to overcome this, what Takaful does is not based on a contract of sale. It's based on a contract of donation, that we come together to donate. Now, in donation, there are no requirements of certainty that you donate and there should be certain that something will happen to pay somebody else. No, we simply donate, okay, for purpose of helping each other. Okay, so the element of uncertainty or gharar becomes irrelevant in this particular contract on Sharia perspective. So that is one difference. The other important difference is the ownership of the pooled fund. In the conventional insurance, whatever you contributed, the premiums contributed are pooled, okay? And from that, claims are paid. If there is anything remaining out of that particular pool, belongs to the insurer for that particular year, is their money. From the Islamic insurance point of view, that is not so the case. The pooled, the premiums that have been collected, okay, are owned by the policyholders. The insurer is simply a fund manager, managing this fund on their behalf, and is get paid, of course, for doing that particular work, paid commissions for investing, paid commission for underwriting risks, and so on and so forth, but it's not his. It's not his fund. So at the end of the year, if claims are paid, all other expenses are deducted, there is a surplus, belongs to the Takaful fund, and in that manner belongs to the participants who have contributed. Finally, is on the investments. As you see, there are 12 areas of references, but because of time, and since I'll share these slides with you, you will go through them. But I'll just finalize with this last one on investing. On investment, a conventional insurer can invest on treasury bills, treasury bonds, give even some loans on interest and so on. On the Takaful, we cannot invest on interest-bearing instruments. So we'll have to use investing in Islamic banks, for example, term deposits, and maybe give some loans which are Sharia compliance, okay, among others. So that is also an important additional difference. Maybe to add two quickly on this difference is because of their importance is the Sharia supervision. Islamic insurance will have a board, Sharia supervisory board to run it. And I would like to say that this not necessarily is adding a cost, because at the end of the day, it depends on how much you pay. We don't want to send a message here that Sharia board perhaps are very highly paid or paid a lot of money that makes a big cost implication to the operations. It adds a certain cost, but at the end of the day, it depends on your overall cost, because they could be still there, but still your operating cost in terms of directors' payments and boards' payments could be maybe even lesser compared to any conventional bank paying its board here. So it depends again with this, there is this additional governance layer, which comes with the cost element, but at the end of the day, it depends how much you pay. How much are you paying them, okay, to add to the cost of running the whole business. So there is a Sharia supervisory board that advises and monitors to ensure Sharia compliance within Takaful, which is not there in a conventional in first place. In financial reporting, which of course was discussed here on IFRS 17 and maybe other standards, is even a Takaful is required to observe financial reporting standards that are recognized in a particular country. And the good thing, and this is now required very proactive regulator, which is something we have seen in other jurisdictions, is if there are concerns on IFRS 17, particularly Sharia are concerns, because we know from practice that IFRS 17 doesn't take into account everything that Takaful covers. okay, including, for example, the issue of Qard Hassan, when the pool fund, when the Takaful fund is short, the claims are higher than the pooled funds, we understand from the practice there is a Qard Hassan that has to be paid by the insurer to this fund. How is this reported? Takaful IFRS 17 doesn't talk about this at all, doesn't know even if it exists, because the whole framework of IFRS 17 is conventional. So there could be additions that needed to be added on how to report these kind of things, but there could be issues that are contravening Sharia in the IFRS 17 that might need to be also addressed. But this is now requires as an issue, as Commissioner saying, they are open. To what I understand, they are open for discussions. They have shared with us, as you have heard here from the Commissioner, that this adoption of IFRS 17 is phase-wide, goes through varieties of discussion and so on. And we hope that we'll be able to take part, some of us, in this kind of discussion, as I'm glad to hear, like one of the involved leader in that particular discussion for IFRS 17 is Dr. Neema Msuya, which Msuya, if I had correctly, and I think I know the sister. And from here, perhaps I will try to reach out to her and see how we also present our view on this particular IFRS 17 that is under discussion or for adoption, in order to cater for the Takaful concerns that might be there. So the Takaful has to report it is financial, observing Sharia requirements and the conventional requirement if there are no violations to Sharia rules here and there. And of course, if there are issues, it is subject now to this further discussion with the regulator, as he said, is required to observe. But of course, apart from the holy books, nothing cannot be on the table for discussion. This is our understanding. So that is on the differences. Now I want to take quickly through the Takaful guideline that was issued by TIRA. And as I also before I venture into that, I wanted to remind you that Tanzania five-year development plan 3 that was issued just last year, if not mistaken, is quite clear that the government wants to promote Takaful in this country. It's quite clear. And quoting from the 5-year development plan, it says here, the government is committed to diversify insurance products and expand the penetration of insurance sector. So in that regard, the government had its role to play, which is to come up with a regulatory framework or regulations for Takaful to operate. And Alhamdulillah, as we speak today, we have the Takaful operational guideline, which is an instrument that has been issued to facilitate operations of Takaful in the country so far. So that's the bigger picture from the government. Now, Takaful operator or Takaful falls under TIRA. TIRA is the authority empowered by the law to oversee the sector, to supervise and regulate the sector. Now, from this, from that mandate, they have issued the Takaful operational guideline, which was in April, and it became active or effective 1st May 2022. And I know in that regard, I'd like to answer here one of the questions in the chat, which I saw was asking about whether we can start now Takaful operation in the country. Yes, by law, with this guideline, yes, a Takaful company can be licensed. It's all about meeting the licensing requirements, which I'll share with you shortly in the next few slides. So once you meet the capital requirement, you have all the other requirements that have been mentioned over there, you can start Takaful operator even in the next quarter. Okay, it's all about how fast you are to comply with all that is required for you to start. So the guideline talks about all these issues. As you can see, cannot be a subject of discussion for this short session, but the guideline is available on the TIRA website. So TIRA website has published this guideline on soft copy. You can download it on the TIRA website and get the details. I just wanted to capture a few things from the guidelines for this audience, for this gathering. before I go into those few areas, we need to appreciate that the guideline is coming from this context, from this objective, that the Takaful guidelines seek to promote penetration of insurance in the country. It provides a good framework, a starting framework on how Takaful business will be regulated and supervised in the country. It ensures protection of consumers or the insured. It promotes professionalism, and also it guides on how investments will have to be made under Takaful. Now, snapshot on the guideline, like conditions for Takaful operators are quite enumerated in that particular guideline, and these are some of them. To run, just or to mention a few, is of course the principal officer, the CEO, is required as well to be knowledgeable on Takaful business or Takaful concepts. So that's important, the knowledge, professional development aspect of it, that whoever becomes the top, the leader in this kind of operations, he has to be knowledgeable on that. Then Sharia board, as I said, Sharia board is very instrumental. They have to be there. There will be also required to have Sharia compliance officers, okay, and these other things. One thing here to note is Tanzania doesn't allow windows. We know Islamic banks have Islamic windows, but I mean conventional banks have Islamic windows, but in Takaful, you are not allowed to operate a window in Tanzania based on this guideline, okay? So it has to be only full-fledged company registered to offer only this particular kind of services. And the beauty of these services is for everybody. It's not segregating any people or races or things like that. Takaful is for everybody. Takaful operating models, as you know, there are different contracts models that are used in structuring contracts within Takaful undertaking. So the guidelines is very broader, very accommodating, that it allows Wakala model, Mudaraba model, Waqf model, hybrid models, okay, among others, okay, that all these structures that governs contractual relations between insured and the insurer are acceptable, are allowed. Again, the guideline is also clear that Takaful products can be offered general or family. Okay, family is like the equivalent of life in the convention. So all these set of classes of insurance are permissible. Investment of funds, it takes cognizance and actually puts very clear statements that investments that are to be made by the Takaful operator should be Sharia compliant only. Okay, and there should be an investment policy approved by the board of directors to guide investment activities. And if there are impermissible income from investment, the guidelines advises on what approach to take to handle that particular issue. On the governance, as you know, there are normal standard. There's an act and regulation that requires the boards and requires setup of certain committees within the insurance business. But it adds further to that, there should be a Sharia board, and it articulates qualifications of those members, how many members are required. And from the guideline, the members required minimum are 3, and the guidelines provide the functions of the SSB, authority of SSB, the Sharia board, public access of a Sharia board, and the Sharia board, policyholders will have an access, or even the member of the public will have an access to interact and ask and get clarification from the Sharia board. And also there will be a requirement of having external Sharia auditor. As you know, as in any business, normally by the law, you have external financial auditors, okay? But for Takaful, beside that, you need also to have an external Sharia auditor to verify or to provide assurance that everything was run according to Sharia principle. On Takaful, the guideline also talks about Takaful, that you're allowed to have Takaful, or the conventional side, they call it reinsurance. So Takaful is permissible. If there are Takaful companies locally available, you can enter into treaty with them, enter into agreements with them, or apart from locally available, then other accredited foreign Takaful operator can be used. On the accounting, again, the guideline talks about it, that you have to comply with the act. And as the commissioner said, the act requires us to observe the IFRS standards. And of course, if there are any issues, I believe since this is a very infancy stage, Tanzania is at the infancy stage, the country is still in the learning process on guiding and supervising this sector. If there are modifications that are needed, the guidelines are clear that the commissioner welcomes those modifications from a particular Takaful operator through the Sharia board. So if a Sharia board comes to a decision that this particular accounting or reporting treatment violates Sharia, the guidelines is clear that that matter has to be referred to the commissioner for them to deliberate and provide advice. Benevolent loan, as I said, Qard Hassan, in case of the underwriting, the Takaful pool is short. I mean, the claims are higher compared to the funds collected. Then there is this concept of Qard Hassan that the insurer or Takaful operator has to give. It talks about this as well. It talks about Takaful remit intermediaries. These are brokers and agencies. And in short, it is allowed Takaful operator to have agencies, to have Takaful agencies, to have Takaful brokers based on the Insurance Act that is there. One thing which is quite clear in this guideline is if Takaful operator doesn't comply with Sharia, that could be a sufficient reason for cancellation of the license. So TIRA or the guideline is quite serious about Sharia compliance, which is very important in this particular product model, or this insurance model. Of course, as mentioned here by Salum as well, was the issue of insurance surplus. There are times where claims are lower claims are fewer compared to the premiums and investment income. The insurance surplus, underwriting surplus, there are different approaches on how to handle that, and the guidelines provide room on how insurance surplus will need to be handled. So licensing requirement, that's all about the guideline. As I said, it's broad, it has a lot of issues, and the good thing, it is available online through TIRA's website. Or for the nitty-gritty, you can reach out to TIRA website and download Mwongozo or guideline. It is available in English and in Swahili. So feel free to reach out to TIRA's website to download this crucial document for the Takaful operation in Tanzania. With regards to licensing requirement, I will need to share with you another slide here to that. Let me see if I can have it with me. Okay, it is here. So you can see, I believe, this is again a document prepared by TIRA. It is available on their website. What is required, okay, for you to get a license of an insurance, basically, but also Takaful operator will be required to observe this. I will not go through all of these details, like the capital was already mentioned, but it has to be a company registered. There are certain registration and annual fees that will have to be paid. Okay, there is a need for having a business plan, a 3 to 5 years business plan for that company, for the Takaful operator. Okay, it must be clear in terms of it is the reinsurance treaty, the Takaful aspect of it. It has to be very clear on that. And once you get the license, you have to start operating within 12 months from the date license is granted. So this document, as I said, is available, and of course we will share with you our slides together with this document, and maybe together with the Takaful operating guidelines for proper review and for educating ourselves the nitty-gritties of starting the Takaful operation. I will now finalize by going back to my slide, which has only maybe few more to conclude is the potential of Takaful in Tanzania. I would like to remind you that TIRA did a study in 2012 before embarking on a long journey to set up a framework or regulation that ended up with the guideline that we are having. They carried a study then, which was very clear that there is currently sufficient demand for Takaful product in Tanzania. It will also observe that such demand will likely increase in the future. And this goes hand in hand with what Brother Salum also shared. Okay, there are several drivers that we see to back up this statement. So just a brief on some figures around the region, we see that globally, Takaful assets are around 23 billion US dollar, that is of 2019. Takaful Insurance of Africa, this is the only company that is in Kenya there. We see that their contribution, Takaful contribution received in 2019 was around US dollar 11 million. Okay, and then if you just look at the local market here, used, for example, Zanzibar Insurance Company. Zanzibar Insurance Company, just growth, general premium written in 2020 was around 19 billion. Sorry, 2020 is 19 billion, 2019 was 23 billions. Okay, that is just one company. But of course, we got the overview. Salom presented to us that the total assets within the insurance business is less than 1 trillion. It is 900 something over there. So we hope having a Takaful company will increase this premium base because there is a segment that is not using insurance that will come into the insurance. What is the way forward? Besides what Brother Salom said on those points that he concluded with, that what needs to be taken, like the research and so on and so forth, I think it is now time to don't talk, just act. Don't say, just show. Don't promise, just to prove. So I'm asking to conclude my talk is, can we, are the members present here, okay, would like to join, okay, an investors group to deliberate further on this opportunity, particularly on the Takaful, setting up Takaful company. We know there are other opportunities on broker, on agency, but all these cannot function if there is no operator, because operator is the mother of all these others. So we want to walk the talk. So if there is any person in this particular forum, in this particular webinar, who is interested to explore further, to walk the talk with us, we'll be glad to have your contact, which you can share privately with me through my email or through the email that you receive with this link, or you can drop it on the chat, and we will be glad to have further engagements on what is next after this. That being said, thank you so much for making time. I know it is already 12, but there could be still some questions or some clarification required. With that, let me stop here and now allow you to have your maybe very brief. I will take very few because time is already up, and I know my other speakers will be having other engagements. So we'll only maybe spend 5 minutes. We'll only allow maybe the next 5 questions. But that doesn't mean you should not ask or engage us privately. Our contacts are quite accessible through our, for example, abroad, our website, abroadconsult.co.ke, as well as SS Capital website. You can be able to get the contact of Brother Salom. Once we share this presentation again, there are our contacts. So the conversation can still go on, the Q&A can still go on beyond this. But for the time being that we have, if there is any question, pressing question, we will now come to that. I will start going to the charts quickly to see if there is a question that we can start it from there. I see Grashi Kawishe, can a Takaful company operate on both models, Mudarab and Wakala? The answer is yes. This is called hybrid model. It can be Mudarab, it can be Wakala, and the guidelines is okay with that. Is okay with that, that there could be hybrid models that can be used. So that one, I'll leave it there. Mariam, would you like to know if there is a list of Takaful operators? In Tanzania, no Takaful operator so far. There is one company, as Brother Salum shared, that has registered a company, but is yet to get license. But maybe Dr. Sakware might share if there is anyone that they have already licensed so far. But what?
Not really. Of course, we have received a few applications. We are 3 applications to be precise, and we are working on it. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's good news. So 3 Takaful operator on the pipeline. On the Banca Takaful, will all banks allowed to do Banca Takaful, or is just Islamic banks? Dr. Sakware, anything to say?
Yes, banks are distributors, and therefore we don't limit any distributor to undertake to distribute Takaful products to the public. So all banks are allowed as distributors.
Yes, and
as
from
the channel of distribution.
From that point of view, there is also no Sharia concerns for being a distributor. Even a non-Muslim can have a Takaful agency business or a brokerage business to sell Takaful. No problem. Sharia point of view, so same applies to the banks. Another one for you, Doctor, here is, does TIRA have a Sharia board that would provide supervisory framework for the market, or how are you going to approach the Sharia issues referred to you?
No, that is one option which we have seen in Uganda and the other parts of the world. We are not opting to have a Sharia board in a government institution. What we have is TIRA will constitute a committee which will discuss any issues submitted by Sharia board of the company to TIRA, and that committee will constitute any person in the market, within or outside the country, and respond to any issue and come up with the directives or any other requirement which requires our attention as an authority.
All right, thank you so
much.
We'll
use our internal process.
Thank you so much. With that, if there is any question that I haven't answered, I haven't addressed, you can raise a hand and ask it directly. We have only 2 minutes before I give my speakers to conclude. Any of the participants wants to ask directly? You can raise up your hand, please. Again, as I said, those interested to explore further the investment opportunity on the Takaful, you can reach to us directly. You can share your number, or you can write an email through the email that you go to this link, and we'll be glad to have like investors forum for Takaful as we move along, because we need now to act, not just to talk. And this is an opportunity for Tanzanians and opportunity for foreigners as well. We as Abrar and this is Capital will be glad to provide necessary support to see that there is a Takaful operator in the market as soon as possible. Okay, a question here is on me regarding the recording. Yes, this record, once we have finalized it today, it will go through few editing here and there, and then it will be shared through our channel, Abrar Consult YouTube channel. It will be available there so that you can all go back to listen from the beginning if you missed something. And for those who missed completely, they can get some insights from it. Any other? Okay, I don't see a hand. And since I'm already stretched on time, let me give our honorable guest speaker to give your concluding remark. And then let Brother Salum to do the same, and then we'll close the day. Brother Commissioner, please.
Asante sana. And thank you very much for having discussions and questions. I am delighted that I have also learned many issues, of course, which will enhance my supervisory activities with regard to Takaful operators. I have two things to make to the society at large. Is that one is we have issued a guidelines. Our expectations was that there will be a lot of operators to show us that actually we needed laws so that we can operate. To the surprise, we have received 3, but they are not with the exception of Zanzibar Insurance, which is about to establish a subsidiary company. Others, they've just wrote a letter that asking questions about and clarification about how to establish and what is it, what is that. So it is very surprising that the findings from the 2012 and the pressures on how to operate does not reflect the appetite of the investors to undertake the business. So I will argue that we continue educating our potential investors and come and open a Takaful operation in Tanzania in various categories, as mentioned by Brother Salum, advisors, intermediaries, InsurTech, but also, of course, you can't have all those things if you don't have an operator. So let's put our hands together and our forces and the efforts so that we get an operator to kick off in this market, so that we realize our efforts to establish the guideline. Second is that the potential for the Takaful market in Tanzania is real in terms of populations, in terms of government policies. And this is not peculiar to Takaful. If it is not taken by Takaful operator, it can be taken by any conventional insurer. And I've mentioned here with all 5 commercial, with all 5 areas which are now compulsory to insure in Tanzanian market, it is my proposition that all those gives you a right as an investor to take part by establishing products, distribution channels, and the proper persuasion to the clients, proper marketing. So my last but not least is to thank you and keep on putting your efforts to within Tanzania, but also within outside Tanzania, to welcome all the interested parties to undertake insurance, Takaful insurance business in Tanzania. And we are giving all possible support when it comes to regulatory requirement. And thank you all of you for listening, and I wish to all the best.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for your valuable time and the insights that you have shared with us. I'll now invite Salum Awad also to give his closing remarks. Karibu sana.
Asante, Brother Khafan, and thanks for the opportunity. I think 2 things for me quickly. One is, I think the question of opportunity is not controversial. We have shared the numbers, we have shared the trends. Globally, Takaful is growing at 16%. So I think we just need to open up and take up the opportunity. For me, there's no doubt about that. But secondly, which is the most important for me, I think, we haven't done enough on education and awareness. Because most of the time you meet people, they ask same questions. What does it take to start a Takaful company in Tanzania? What are the licensing requirements? How much capital is needed? So people think probably there's a separate licensing requirement in terms of application and costing for Takaful vis-a-vis traditional conventional insurance company. So I think I don't want to throw this to TIRA in terms of continuing to educate people in terms of what is needed to start a Takaful company. But all players in the ecosystem, if it's Abral, if it's AC, if it's Sefka, if it's Tampro, everyone who is in the ecosystem to see what can we do to create the education which is needed so you can receive more applications actually to TIRA. And at least before the end of the year, if you at least have one operator, for me, I think that would be great. Otherwise, if this 1 year passes and there's not even one operator licensed, that won't be good for the market. Yeah, I'll end here.
All right, thank you so much, Brother Salum, for your closing remark. Once again, I thank you all for making time to listen to us. We are looking forward to support as well whoever wants to set up a Takaful operation in this country. If it is already an institutional investor or if it is a group of individuals, I will be glad to provide all necessary support in order to make sure this comes to fruition. I would say that we have spent almost 10 years coming up to the guidelines this year. And my prayer and deliberation is to ensure we don't go 10 years to have one Takaful operator in this country. We should be able to tap to this opportunity that we have presented before you. And it is upon us who are present to come together and within a group which we are glad to form for those who will be interested. My numbers are there. You can see there is a Tanzanian number, there's a Kenyan number. You can reach out to me. We can form a group and start further nitty-gritty discussions on pursuing this opportunity. I repeat, this opportunity I'm talking about is on a Takaful operator, not on brokers or not on agents. For that one, I think is something that you can pursue. But if you want to set a Takaful operator, you're interested to be an investor in Takaful company, we will be much more glad to share and come together and be able to realize this. The Takaful market doesn't require one player. It doesn't require two players. Okay, it requires a lot of players. So even though we have heard here there is one company like Zik that wants to come, that should not worry any of us. Okay, there will be one among many players that are needed. So let us grab the first move advantage by being the first to enter the market, and the time is now. With that remarks, thank you so much, and I look forward for your further engagements, and hopefully by before May next year, maybe before 1 year since the regulation was launched, since the guidelines was launched, we'll be able to have a Takaful operator in this market, and not one, not two, but 3, 4, 5, and so on, so that we can be able to reach all over the country and make this this sector contribute a lot to the economy and to the wealth protection of our people. With that being said, bye-bye for now, and I look forward to engage with you in the future webinars. Until we meet again, bye-bye, masalam. I wish you a good weekend. And thank you so much for all of you who have asked and those who have listened from the beginning to the end.
Shukran.
Bye-bye for now. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye for now. Shukran.
Bye-bye.
We will share the presentation through the email you sent with us. So that will be done in the next few days, inshallah. By Monday or Tuesday, you will have the presentation, the guideline, as well as the licensing requirement, which I believe will be good instruments for you to think and take action. Okay, I'll end the meeting now. See you. Bye-bye.
Okay, inshallah, inshallah.